Hollywood?
Hollywood has been desperately looking for new franchises to help rake in that cash. Now, they could create them, but that takes talented and creative writers, which is something sorely lacking in this day and age. So instead, they have turned their greedy eyes to the most popular form of entertainment in the world, the video game. Over the past decade, we've seen a ton of video games turned into live-action films. Some, like Mario Brothers and Sonic, have been massive hits. Others, however, like Amazon's Halo series and the Uncharted movie, have been abject failures critically and commercially. This past weekend brought us the long-awaited live-action Borderlands movie. Now, for those of us who are not gamers, a little background is needed. Borderlands is a video game series that consists of 7 games, the first being released in 2009. The series has sold more than 85 million game copies and is one of the most successful and popular games of all times. But can that translate to big screen success? In other words, what do we have here? Is Borderlands the next video game to movie success story, or is it another failure? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the movie Borderlands.
Let's talk!
So we start off on the planet of Pandora. We find Roland. He's a mercenary soldier who's apparently gone rogue. He kidnaps Tiny Tina, a teenager, with the help of Craig, a psycho who was institutionalized in the same facility that was holding Tina. Later, we see Lilith, a bounty hunter. She's contacted by Atlas, a powerful corporate magnate. He convinces her to rescue Tina, his daughter. Lilith goes back to Pandora, her home planet, for the first time since she was a child, with the help of Claptrap, a robot that was mysteriously programmed to wait for her on Pandora. She locates Tina. Now, after realizing that Atlas wants his daughter back against her will, Lilith teams up with Roland and Craig while they are attacked by the Crimson Lance, a private army of Atlas. Lilith is informed by Dr. Tanis, a resident of Pandora, that Tina is of an ancient race that inhabited the planet and that she is the only one who can open the vault where the secrets and powers of the lost civilization are kept.
Sure.
So this movie features an all-star cast. Kate Blanchett as Lilith, Kevin Hart as Roland, Jack Black as the voice of Claptrap, Ariana Greenblatt as Tiny Tina, and Jamie Lee Curtis as Dr. Tanis. And it was written and directed by Eli Roth, who's had a budget of $120 million, and he's been fairly successful in his career. So with that budget, this cast, a good director, and an immensely popular game series, this is surely going to be a smash hit, right? Right? Well, let's start with what works here. Well, Blanchett is decent as Lilith. She looks like she's taking this role seriously. Greenblatt is funny as Tiny Tina, playing her role with an insane edge, and Kevin Hart looks like he's trying as Roland. But that's about it. What doesn't work here? Well, everything else. There's hardly any character development or dramatic peaks and valleys in Borderlands to hold your interest. It's like they just threw it all together. What's the character's backstory, their motivation? We don't know, and we never learn. And I'm sorry, while I like Kevin Hart, you are just not going to sell me on him being a badass, highly trained soldier. Just like Blanchett, who is trying her best, she just doesn't work as an unstoppable bounty hunter. The story just meanders along with almost no rhyme or reason. I guess they tried to make it like a video game. You know, you complete one task, you move on to the next, and then you finally defeat the big boss. But darn, it's just so dull here. And speaking of the final boss, Atlas is played like a literal plank of wood, never once inspiring fear or menace.
This isn't very scary.
And Eli Roth, who wrote this mess of a script, he doesn't work as the director of this type of film. He's best suited for over-the-top R-rated violence, like his successful films like Thanksgiving and Hostel. Putting him in charge of a PG-13 video game adaptation doesn't work at all. And lastly, we need the IRS to look into this film. $120 million for this? Where the hell did that money go? It's certainly not on the screen. The effects are cheap and choppy. Every major fight is almost impossible to follow and seems out of focus at times. Now, I'm not a gamer, I've never played this game, but I gotta believe the game is more engaging than this movie. And, you know, the cast, their game, they're trying to make it work, but it really doesn't. And I imagine that gamers who have been waiting for this and following the series for 15 years are going to be bitterly disappointed. There is really nothing to recommend this film, either as a theater experience or at home. It's not even something that you can enjoy, you know, something campy or something that's going to develop cult-like status. It's dull, it's boring, it's a waste of your time. And with how poorly it did in sales, there is no way it comes close to breaking even, let alone making money. Best to avoid this film. You'll thank me later.
Boy, that was terrible.
Well, that's it from me this week. Tune in next week where I give you my thoughts and feelings on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, share this video with friends and enemies alike. And as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.